this is Gammon time, because when it comes to special days like Christmas and like New Year's Day and like Patron Saint's Day, it's like you've got Paddy's Day and St Andrew's Day and all that. Well, over here we have St George's Day. And, well, Keir Starmer decided to make a St George's Day message, but fails to mention England. Yes, you could not make this shit up. Who gives a fuck? Who cares? If he had mentioned England, they would have complained he didn't mention England enough. And if he did mention England enough, what would have happened? They would have complained about something else. Keir Starmer has been accused of being out of touch for releasing St George's message, which failed to mention England. The Prime Minister repeatedly mentioned Britain rather than England, which is represented by St George's as a patron saint. A Tory source said Labour is once again completely out of touch, so distracted by the scandal engulfing their government, they seem to have forgotten basic history and geography. England is not the same as Britain. Shameful. In a 357-word address, Sir Keir hailed the quiet British patriotism, arguing that Sir Keir said, what makes us stronger? The quiet British patriotism, people contributing, pulling together, looking out for one another is what makes us stronger. This is the patriotism I believe in, not performative, not divisive, but fair, respective and proud. Even the preamble of his message mentioned Britain 3 times, with the PM vowing to strengthen Britain's resilience at home and abroad. Britain is being tested on 2 fronts. The release continued and talked of a visit to a community centre today, at which Sir Keir will say only through supporting integration can Britain defeat the poison of populism. A Labour source told the Daily Mail that Sir Keir referred to England and being English a number of times at his St George's Day Downing Street reception on Monday. Meanwhile, a Reform UK government would require every school to mount a picture of the King, fly the Union flag and introduce patriotism history classes. The party has announced a string of education policies ahead of the St George's Day, which they say will restore national pride at the curriculum. They have criticised history being taught through a progressive lens and said a new curriculum would be implemented in their first 100 days of government if they were to be elected. It argued that the subject should reflect a patriotic history of the British Isles without being framed in modern narratives. Reform wants pupils in England to cover events such as the Magna Carta, the War of the Roses, the English Civil War, the Glorious Revolution, the Act of the Union, the Englishment of Victorian Britain, like rickets, like poverty and homelessness and starvation. He didn't say that, but I put that in. A volatile world is testing our resilience at home and abroad. Abroad, we must be clear about our values. That's why I wouldn't let Britain get dragged into a war in the Middle East. And at home, we must build resilience in our communities, because strong communities are the bedrock of our national security. And let's be clear, there are 2 types of forces working against that. Hostile foreign actors deliberately try to stir up hatred and even violence. And here at home, there are those who exploit division for their own ends instead of working to heal it. I will stand up to both. Yes, he's got him on the run now, hasn't he? I will stand up to both, because the quiet British patriotism, people contributing, pulling together, looking out for one another, and what makes us stronger. We saw that clearly during the riots. A mindless minority brought violence and disorder onto our streets, but the overwhelming majority chose a different path, standing together, protect their communities, and showing the best of this country. That is the patriotism I believe in, not performative, not divisive, but fair, respectful, and proud. That is why, at this moment of deep global instability, we must be absolutely clear about who we are, because how we respond now will shape this country for decades to come. That means when people try to hijack our flag to spread hate, we should call it what it is: plastic patriotism that corrodes the very bonds that tie us together. It also means backing the mainstream majority of people in this country, the decent, tolerant people who want to get on and build a stronger community. And it draws a hard line against extremism in all its forms. I know what the flag of St. George stands for. It stands for decency over division, unity over hate, and a country where patriotism is measured by what you put in, not what hate you stir up. Those are the values I will always fight for, and that is the job of this government: to strengthen our communities, to confront those who seek to divide us, and to make sure Britain remains a country that is united, resilient, and secure. I bet that stirred your loins, guys, and by God. By God, we have our new Winston Churchill in. Oh dear, what a nonsense of a story. Who cares whether he said England once, none? Who gives a shit? It's just St. George's message. Just take it as it is, I say. That was Gammon time. Hold on a minute. Hold on. I get the feeling that this bit is our Sir Keir Starmer. They could have told me that in the first place. But anyway, we'll soldier on.